Look at me and take a deep breath, because right now I'm going to destroy your most cherished belief, that sweet lie you wrap yourself in every time you see red in your investment portfolio. You sit in front of the monitor watching the numbers melt away, and you think, I missed something, I didn't have enough knowledge, I'm not smart enough. You blame your intelligence, you blame the lack of insider information, you blame Elon Musk, the Fed, or the phases of the moon. But the truth that's about to take your breath away is that your intelligence has absolutely nothing to do with your losses. You can be the smartest person in the room and still end up the poorest. History knows an example that should make you shudder with the horror of recognition. Have you ever heard of Isaac Newton? Yes, the guy with the apple, the man who invented calculus and formulated the laws of gravity upon which all modern physics rests. Would you agree he was a genius? Absolutely. His IQ was likely double yours. But did you know that this greatest mind of humanity died having lost almost his entire fortune, equivalent to millions of dollars in today's money, on one of the stupidest financial scams in history, the South Sea bubble? Imagine a scene. A man capable of calculating the movement of celestial bodies for centuries to come, standing on the London Exchange, sweaty, trembling, with crazed eyes, buying shares at the absolute peak because he saw his idiot friends getting rich faster than him. At first, he bought a little and made a profit. Now he cashed out feeling like the king of logic, but then the shares kept rising. They rose against common sense, against math, against everything Newton knew about the world. He watched people who you couldn't string two sentences together buying carriages and mansions, and then something snapped in his brilliant brain. Envy, greed, and the fear of missing out, FOMO, that toxic cocktail you drink every morning while scrolling through your news feed, shut down his neocortex, and he went back into the market. He plowed in everything he had and even borrowed more to buy shares at the absolute historical maximum. A week later, the bubble burst. The greatest physicist in history was left with nothing, and until his dying day, he forbade anyone from uttering the word South Sea in his presence because that pain was more powerful than his intellect. You think this is just a historical anecdote? No, it's a mirror. Look into it. Do you see Newton? No, you see yourself. If the man who discovered the laws of the universe couldn't handle his emotions and turned into a financial suicide, what chance do you have with your trading courses and Telegram channel subscriptions? You think the market is a place where people trade stocks and bonds. That's a delusion that is costing you a fortune. The market is a place where people trade human weaknesses. It is a giant, merciless mechanism for redistributing wealth from those who cannot control their impulses to those who killed everything human within themselves long ago. Your main enemy isn't Jerome Powell raising rates. Your main enemy doesn't sit in the government or run corporations. Your main enemy wakes up with you, brushes his teeth with your toothbrush, and looks back at you from the mirror with an expression of panic when the S&P 500 drops by 2%. But here is the twist that will make you feel betrayed by your own biology. You are not to blame for reacting this way, but you will be to blame if you continue to do so. Your brain is not a tool for making money on the stock market. Your brain is a biological survival machine designed 100,000 years ago for the African savanna, not for Wall Street. When you see your stocks falling, your brain doesn't see numbers. It doesn't see charts. Do you know what it sees? It sees a saber-toothed tiger preparing to lung at your throat. Your amygdala, the ancient fear center, hits the red alarm button, and your blood is flooded with cortisol. Your heart starts pounding. Your palms sweat. Your pupils dilate. Your body screams, "Yo, run! Save yourself! Sell everything to survive." In the jungle, this reaction would have saved your life. In the financial market, this reaction guarantees that you will sell at the absolute bottom, locking in a loss and handing your money to someone who knows how to suppress their instincts. You think you're a rational investor. You think you make decisions based on analysis. What delightful arrogance. You are a puppet on the strings of your own hormones. In 99% of cases, what you call intuition is just fear disguised as a hunch. What you call strategy is your brain's attempt to rationalize greed. You buy at the highs, not because the company is good, but because it hurts to watch others make money without you. You sell at the lows, not because the fundamentals have changed, but because the pain of loss becomes physically unbearable and you want it to stop. You pay the market to stop hitting you. That isn't investing. That is a ransom you pay to the terrorist living inside your head. And until you realize that your IQ is zero, the moment your emotions kick in, you are doomed to repeat Newton's fate, only without the fame and without the apple. The scariest part of this story is that you don't even realize you are in a state of temporary insanity. It seems to you that you are thinking clearly. It seems that this time it's different, but it's a trap. The market is designed to trigger the maximum emotional response. Green candles trigger euphoria and dopamine, making you risk more than you can afford. Red candles trigger panic and a desire to hide in a hole. You are a lab rat pressing levers, getting either an electric shock or sugar cube, and you call it capital management. But I am here to tell you the brutal truth. You do not manage capital. Capital manages you. More precisely, the lack of self-control manages your ruin. Are you ready to find out how to hack this ancient code hardwired into your DNA and stop being a hostage to your own biochemistry? Or would you prefer to remain a genius who, like Newton, ended up at a broken trough, cursing his human nature? Because the next step will require not brains, but character. And that is a commodity far scarcer than intelligence. Let's perform an autopsy on your financial collapse before it even happens. Let's face the truth, no matter how ugly. You aren't an investor, you are a walking anachronism. Biological error, trying to run 21st century software on hardware that went obsolete during the Ice Age. And you look at the S&P 500 chart and think you're analyzing data, but in reality, your brain, that wrinkled 3-pound lump of fat, doesn't understand the stock market at all. It was designed by evolution for one single purpose, not to be eaten in the African savannah 100,000 years ago. The moment you open your trading terminal, you enter an environment for which you are not biologically suited, just as a fish is not suited for living in a tree. That is why you start suffocating every time the index drops a miserable 5%. You think you are the crown of creation, a rational being? What delightful suicidal arrogance. You are a puppet jerking on chemical strings, and the puppeteer sits deep in your limbic system, that ancient part of the brain we share with lizards. Let me tell you what happens on a chemical level when you see a red candle on the monitor, because this is the root of your poverty. The second the price of an asset drops, your amygdala, that tiny guard dog in your head, starts howling a siren, because to it, there's no difference between losing money and being attacked by a saber-toothed tiger. To your brain, a threat to capital is a threat to life, and it reacts the only way it knows how. It injects a toxic cocktail of cortisol and adrenaline into your blood. Your heart races, your palms sweat, your pupils constrict, and all the blood drains from your frontal lobes, the part responsible for logic and planning, to your leg muscles. Why? So you can run. And there you sit in your ergonomic chair, pumped full of fear hormones, ready to flee from a predator. But there is no predator, only red numbers on a screen. And what do? You obey the command, run! In the language of the market, running means selling. Like you hit the sell button at the absolute bottom, like locking in a loss, not because the company became bad or the business model collapsed, but simply because you need to release that unbearable biological tension. You need the pain to stop. You sell your assets to buy yourself peace of mind, but the price of that peace is your future wealth. And this is the biological defect I'm talking about. The mechanism that saved your ancestors from lions is today guaranteed to kill your portfolio. You survive physically, but you die financially. And nature laughs at you because it doesn't care about your retirement account. It only cares that you survive until tomorrow morning. But wait, you think fear is the only problem? If that were so, you'd just be a coward. But you're also a greedy idiot, because this metal has a flip side, and it shines so brightly it blinds you. When the market rises, when everyone around is screaming about a new paradigm and easy money, your brain releases dopamine, the hormone of reward anticipation. And this is the same mechanism that forced cavemen to gorge on sugar and fat when they found a hive of wild bees, because they didn't know when they'd eat next. You see a rising chart and your inner addict screams, more, take more, don't miss out. And you buy. You buy at the absolute highs when an asset is 10 times overvalued. You buy trash because the herd's running there, and your herd instinct tells you it's safest in the middle of the pack. You aren't buying value, you're buying a hit of dopamine. And here happens the twist worthy of a Greek tragedy. The hero digs his own grave while thinking he's building a palace. You call these chemical surges in your brain by a pretty word, intuition. You say, I feel the market is about to turn, or my gut tells me this stock is going to moon. Let me translate that into the language of reality. Your gut is just the churning of hormones caused by fear or greed. What you call intuition is actually an idiocy tax that the market levies on those who confuse their emotions with facts. You think you have a knack, you only have hallucinations. Intuition works in chess, where the rules are fixed. Intuition works in music. But in the market, where chaos and uncertainty reign, your intuition is a compass that always, do you hear me, always points south when you need to go north. It whispers sell when you should buy and screams buy when you should run away. Are you beginning to understand the trap you're in? You are locked in a cage with a wild beast, and that beast is you. You cannot escape your biology. You cannot cut out your amygdala, but you can at least realize that you are sick. Most investors live their whole lives in this state of financial sleepwalking, buying on emotion, selling on emotion, and then blaming manipulators and whales for their failures. But the truth is that no one stole your money. You gave it away yourself voluntarily and with a song in your heart, because you couldn't withstand the pressure of your own nature. You are a biological machine programmed to be poor, because wealth requires actions that are unnatural for the human psyche. Wealth requires buying when it's scary and selling when it's fun. Are you capable of that? Are you capable of going against millions of years of evolution for the sake of the numbers in your account? Here is the question that should be pulsing in your temples right now. If I cannot trust my brain, if my feelings lie to me, if my fear is a traitor and my joy is a trap, what do I lean on? How do I survive in this ocean of madness if my own captain is drunk and wants to steer the ship into the rocks? The answer exists, but it will require you to admit that you are not the center of the universe, but merely a small, frightened particle in a massive mechanism we call the market. And this market is not a faceless force. It has a face, it has a character, and it is much crazier than you. Are you ready to meet your business partner who suffers from a severe form of bipolar disorder and learn how to use his illness for your own enrichment? Because if you don't learn to manage him, he will destroy you without even noticing. Imagine for a second that you own not an abstract brokerage account with flashing digits, but a very real, tangible business, say a small corner gas station or a bakery that makes excellent buns. You have a partner with whom you run this 50-50 business, and this partner's name is Mr. Market. But the problem is that your partner is a clinical, incurable, violent madman with a severe form of manic depressive psychosis, aggravated by alcoholism. Every day, without weekends or holidays, this guy knocks on your door. Sometimes he kicks it in. Sometimes he scratches like a beaten dog. And every time he offers you one of two things, either to buy out your share or to sell you his. And here begins the play in which you unfortunately play the role of the victim, though you should be the director. On some days, Mr. Market comes to you drunk with happiness. He sees the future in rose-colored glasses. He sings songs and screams that your gas station will soon become an intergalactic spaceport. In this state of euphoria, he offers you an astronomical sum for your share, 100 times the real value of the business, because his greed and optimism have clouded his mind. But you know what happens next, don't you? The next day or a month later, he comes to you in a state of black, hopeless depression. He cries, he tears his hair out, he sees only collapse, war, and plague. He is certain the world will end tomorrow and no one will need gas. In this state of terror, he begs you to buy his share for pennies, just to get rid of this loss-making asset and buy himself a bottle of sedatives. And what do you, the rational investor, do? Instead of taking advantage of his illness, you catch it. When he falls into depression and screams, "We're all going to die," you don't look at the real profit of your gas station. You don't look at the fact that cars keep driving and people keep buying gas. No, you look at the fear-distorted face of your partner and think, my God, he must know something I don't. If he's panicking like this, things must be bad. And you, giving in to the herd instinct, sell your share for nothing to this madman, locking in losses and destroying your future. You allow a mentally ill person to dictate what your life is worth. Do you feel the absurdity of this situation? In a real business, if a drunk partner came to you and offered to sell his half of a successful factory for the price of scrap metal, you would call a notary and buy it while holding back your laughter. You would become the sole owner and make a fortune. But on the stock market, as soon as the red boards light up, you forget that stocks are shares in a business. You start treating them like casino chips whose price depends on magic tricks. You delegate the valuation of your assets to a crowd of idiots. You think the market is a wise elder who is always right? What a monstrous mistake. The market is not an encyclopedia. The market is a crowd surging between fear and greed. The price of a stock today tells you absolutely nothing about the value of the business. It only tells you about Mr. Market's mood at this exact second. But here is the twist that will make you rethink the very concept of price and value. And if you understand this, you will become invincible. You think price and value are synonyms. They are antonyms. Price is what you pay. Value is what you get. When Mr. Market is depressed, the price falls, but the value of the business, its factories, patents, customers, cash flows, remains the same or even grows. At that moment, a gap appears, a chasm between price and value. And it is in this chasm that real fortunes are made. But you are afraid of this chasm. You look into it and see an abyss, while I look into it and see a sale at a Cartier boutique where diamonds are sold for the price of broken glass. You run out of the store because the lights went out and someone screamed fire. Even though there's no smell of smoke, I pull out a flashlight and start buying everything off the shelves. You ask, but how do I stay calm when everyone around me is losing their heads? How do I not believe this drunk partner if his screams are coming from every news channel? The answer is simple and brutal. You must become arrogant. Yes, you heard me right. This stoicism in investing requires healthy dose of arrogance and contempt for the opinion of the crowd. You must look at Mr. Market not as a teacher, but as a servant. He is here to serve you, not to teach you. His quotes exist for you to take advantage of, not to define your self-esteem. If he wants to sell cheap, you buy. If he wants to buy dear, you sell. If he talks nonsense and offers a price that doesn't suit you, you yawn, close the door in his face, and go to sleep. You have the right to ignore him. You have the option of inaction. In baseball, you have to swing at the ball or you're out. In investing, you can stand with the bat for years, letting thousands of pitches go by and wait for that one perfect fat pitch when Mr. Market makes a mistake so big it borders on charity. But you can't stand still. You're itching. You need action. You think that if the chart jerks, you must jerk too. You synchronize your pulse with the stock ticker. You become an emotional appendage to an algorithm. In that moment, you turn from an investor into a speculator, from a business owner into a gambler trying to guess which fly will bite his partner tomorrow. You are trying to predict the behavior of a madman. It's impossible. You can't analyze a madman. You can only use him, isolate him. I choose to use him. I wait for his illness to enter the acute phase. And the louder his hysteria, the wider my smile. You think that's cynical, profiting from someone else's panic? Absolutely. But the market isn't in a charity event. It is a mechanism for redistributing resources from those who don't control themselves to those who control the situation. Now imagine you're standing in front of a mirror. Who do you see? A frightened child crying because Uncle Market took his toy, or a cold, calculating predator sitting in ambush waiting for the prey to make a mistake? You cannot control Mr. Market. You cannot make him say he will always drink, always be hysterical, always make mistakes. But you can control your reaction to his antics. You can build a wall between his emotions and your wallet. That wall is called Stoicism. But are you ready to build it? Are you ready to be the most boring person in the room who does nothing while everyone else is running around with their hair on fire? Because it is in this doing nothing that the secret you seek is hidden. The secret isn't knowing what to do. The secret is knowing how not to do stupid things when everyone around you is begging you to commit them. Are you ready to find out exactly what this great art of inaction looks like? The art that brings in billions. Now get ready, because I'm about to hand you that very holy grail you've been hunting for years, buying technical analysis courses and subscribing to trading gurus. But I guarantee that when you see this grail, you'll want to spit on it and walk away, because it doesn't look like a golden cup. It looks like a boring gray concrete slab. You're looking for a secret formula, a complex algorithm, a magical action that will turn you into King Midas. But the truth that will set your jaw on edge is that in investing, the money is made neither at the moment of purchase nor at the moment of sale, but in that agonizing infinite time between those two events when you are doing absolutely nothing. Do you hear me? Nothing. Blaise Pascal, a man whose intellect could crush yours like a bug, once said a phrase worth more than all of Wall Street. All of humanity's problems stem from man's inability to sit quietly in a room alone. You think that's about philosophy? No, it's about your empty bank account. You lose money not because you don't know what to buy, but because you have an itch you can't scratch, and you can't just sit on your hands while compound interest does its dirty work. You have become a victim of the most dangerous illusion of modern times, the illusion of control, which makes you believe that busyness equals results. Since childhood, you've been taught, if you want to earn, work, a rolling stone gathers no moss. Movement is life, is life. In the real economy, this works. If you're digging a hole, the faster you swing the shovel, the deeper the hole. But the stock market is a looking glass world where the physical laws of your world do not apply. Here, the more actively you swing the shovel, the faster you bury yourself. You open the terminal, you check the quotes every 5 minutes, you read the news, you make trades, because it gives you the feeling that you are managing the situation. It's a lie. You aren't managing the situation, you're managing your anxiety. Every trade you make that isn't according to the plan, but out of boredom or fear, is a dose of financial morphine you inject into yourself to drown out the voice of uncertainty. You are an addict who confuses withdrawal symptoms with intuition and convulsive movements with strategy. But here is the twist that will blow your mind if you are actually listening. You think doing nothing is passivity, that is for the lazy. What a monstrous amateur error. Aggressive inaction is the hardest work in the world, requiring a will of steel, compared to which the work of a miner seems like a light stroll. Try buying an asset, watching it drop 20% and doing nothing. Try seeing it grow 50% while your friends scream, lock in the profit, and you do nothing because your goal is 1,000%. That requires inhuman self-control. It's like holding a plank while people run around you, poking you with needles. Do you think I sit in my office reading newspapers because I'm old and lazy? I sit and read because I am a hunter in ambush. Have you ever seen a sniper running across a field, firing a machine gun in all directions, hoping to hit something? That's you. You are the machine gunner wasting ammo on noise and dust. I am the sniper who can lie in the mud for 3 days without moving, slowing my pulse, for the sake of one perfect lethal shot. Which of us returns with the prey and which with an empty magazine? You think your problem is the market. No, your problem is dopamine. Your brain demands novelty. It's bored. Boredom is the primary killer of capital, scarier than any crisis. Yet when nothing is happening, your brain starts generating hallucinations. Maybe the trend changed? Maybe it's time to rotate into crypto? You start seeing patterns in the carpet. You start trading not reality, but your fantasies, just to entertain yourself. You've turned the exchange into the most expensive entertainment center in history. If you're having fun investing, you're an idiot who will soon be a pauper. Real investing is boring as hell. It's like watching paint dry or grass grow. If you want adrenaline, go skydiving. It's cheaper than trying to get a thrill from your retirement account. You must learn to derive pleasure not from action, but from inaction. Is that a perversion? Perhaps, but it's a perversion that makes you rich. And here is the most brutal paradox you must swallow like a bitter pill. Society, your family, your boss, they all programmed you for poverty by demanding you be busy. If you sit at work staring out the window, you'll get fired. If you sit on the exchange staring out the window, you get rich. You must flip the switch in your head every time you enter the market. In life, you must be active. In the market, you must be dead. Dead investors show better results than living ones. Do you know why? Because they can't sell at the bottom of a panic. They can't buy at the peak of a hype. They lie still and let time do its work. You, however, in your busyness, are like a gardener who digs up a tree every morning to see if it has taken root. You do it out of care, out of a desire to control the process, but in the end, you just kill the tree. Leave it alone. Leave your portfolio alone. Leave yourself alone. Do you feel the protest rising within you? But Charlie, am I supposed to just watch the world collapse and do nothing? Yes, exactly that. You must watch the fire and not run for water if the fire doesn't threaten your foundation. You must watch the euphoria and not run for champagne. The ability to detach from the crowd. The ability to become an icy rock in the middle of a raging ocean of emotions. That is Stoicism. It isn't an absence of feelings. It is the presence of a mind stronger than feelings. Do you think I'm not scared when I lose billions on paper? I have the same hormones you do, but I have a fuse in my head that you don't. I know my reaction is biological trash, and I throw that trash in the bin before making a decision. You, however, eat that trash for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Now you stand before a choice that will determine whether you are a wolf or a sheep. You can continue playing the active investor, feeding brokers with commissions, burning your nerves and losing money, but feeling like you're on the job. Or you can master the great, boring, agonizing art of doing nothing. Yet you can learn to sit on your hands so tightly that even an earthquake wouldn't move you. It hurts. Your ego will scream, do something. Are you ready to shut your ego's mouth for the sake of the numbers in your account? Yeah. Are you ready to be the most boring person at the party who can't tell a thrilling story about how he pumped and dumped because he simply bought and held? If so, you have a chance. Yeah, but remember, the market is a mechanism for redistributing money from the active to the patient. Which side of the conveyor belt are you standing on right now? Are you the loader carrying boxes or the warehouse owner watching his inventory grow? The answer to that question is the difference between your freedom and your eternal slavery. Now that we've stripped the mask off your fears and seen that your main enemy isn't a faceless economy, but your own reflection in the mirror, it is time to draw the line and deliver the final verdict that will either set you free or sign your finances' death warrant. You sit here, perhaps still hoping I'll give you a comforting pill that I'll say, it's okay, everyone makes mistakes, the market's complex. But I am not your therapist. I am your judge, and the verdict the market delivers cannot be appealed. You must understand one fundamental brutal truth at the core of all capitalism. a truth that makes socialists' eyes bleed and realists' pockets fill. The stock market is not a money factory. It is a giant, merciless, perfectly tuned mechanism for the redistribution of wealth. It doesn't create value out of thin air in the short term. It takes money from the pockets of active, busy, emotional, frightened people and puts it into the safes of those who possess the patience of a sniper and the cold-bloodedness of a pathologist. You thought the battle was between bulls and bears. What childish naivety. The battle is between your limbic brain, which shrieks in terror at the sight of a red candle, and your prefrontal cortex, which knows that math always defeats hysteria. And right now, as we speak, millions of people are losing that battle. They are selling assets because the news is bad. They are moving into cash because experts predict a crash. They are giving their money to me, and I accept their gift, not with gratitude, but with cold satisfaction, because it is the price of their stupidity. Do you want to be a donor in this food chain? Do you want to be the one who pays for my vacation and the future of my great-grandchildren with your panic attacks? If not, you will have to commit violence upon yourself. You will have to kill the human within you and become something more. You must become a rock. Imagine a storm in the ocean. Waves as high as a house, wind tearing the sails, the sky black. In this storm, there are two objects. The first is a dry autumn leaf. It is tossed from side to side. It doesn't control its movement. It flies where the wind blows. It gets wet. It tears. It is pathetic and helpless. This leaf is you when you read financial news and try to react to the market. You depend on the external environment. If the market rises, you are happy. If the market falls, you are depressed. You are a slave to circumstances. But there is a second object, the rock. The waves hit it with the same force. The wind howls just as loudly. But the rock doesn't care. It stands motionless. It knows that a storm is temporary, but granite is forever. It doesn't try to negotiate with the waves. It simply allows them to break against it. Stoicism in investing is the transformation from a leaf into a rock. It is the ability to watch your portfolio drop by 30% and feel nothing but slight boredom because you know it's just noise. But here is the twist that will make you shudder. Do you think being a rock is easy? Do you think it's a passive position? That is the greatest lie. Being a rock is an act of supreme exertion of will. It is when every cell of your body screams, do something, and you use the power of your mind to command yourself to stay put. It is when your friends, colleagues, the TV, the internet, everybody is screaming in unison about the end of the world, and you calmly buy more because your logic is stronger than their collective psychosis. Like, do you think I don't feel fear? I feel it, but I don't let it touch the sell button. That is the difference between a rich old man and a poor dreamer. You allow your emotions to control your hands. I force my hands to obey only my plan. And now as you stand before this choice, understand there is no third way. You cannot be a little bit of a stoic. Either you control yourself or the market controls you. If you show weakness for even a second, if you allow fear to penetrate your strategy, the market will smell blood like a shark and tear you apart. You look at your portfolio and see numbers. I look at your portfolio and see the EKG of your character. Red numbers aren't company losses. They are marks of your cowardice if you sold. Green numbers aren't your genius. They are the reward for your endurance. Money is simply a byproduct of your mental superiority over the crowd. Are you ready to accept this challenge? Are you ready to stop being a weather vane that turns at every sneeze from the Fed? Are you ready to become the one against whom the waves of panic break, not the one who drowns in them? Most of you will nod now, say, yes, of course. And tomorrow, when the market opens down 2%, you'll run to sell again, justifying it as common sense. But I hope that among you are those few mutants, those rare exceptions with a backbone, those who realize that poverty isn't a lack of money, it's a lack of character. And wealth isn't the numbers in an account, it's the icy calm when the world is burning. I'm not asking you to take my word for it. I'm asking you to look in the mirror and answer honestly, who are you? Are you a leaf trembling in the wind, or are you a rock standing in the ocean? Don't lie to yourself, because the market will find out the truth anyway and send you the bill. Write just one word in the comments that will become your vow in the face of financial eternity. Write rock if you are ready to endure the pain, ignore the noise, and wait for your reward while the rest run in circles. Or write leaf if you admit that emotions own you and you are ready to be food for the predators. I will be reading, and I will know who among you is the master of his destiny and who is just a passenger on a sinking ship. The choice is yours. And remember, the market does not forgive weakness.